It's hard to believe it on this wintry day in Northeast Ohio, but in a few short weeks in this cattail-edged pond, we'll start to hear the sounds of spring. We'll start to hear frogs calling. Later in the season, as it gets warmer towards May and into summer, we'll start to hear green frogs and later bullfrogs. But there's an invader in our midst. Actually, quite a few in this particular pond. The ones that I'm mostly concerned with for my research are these particular cattails, the narrowleaf cattail seen in the foreground. Those and Phragmites australis, not seen in this area, are two invasive plants from Northern Europe and Eastern Europe that are causing considerable problems in Northeast Ohio and most of the eastern United States. While smaller areas of almost uninvaded habitat, like seen here, also exist throughout the eastern United States, invasive plant species are becoming an increasing problem, in part because of the disturbance of land around the area and in part because of the shrinking habitat area that remains uninvaded. What do these invasive species have to do with the amphibians? Well, potentially quite a bit. These invasive plants change the structure of a wetland community significantly, both in the physical structure of the area and in the chemical structure of an area. This becomes a problem because the habitat tends to be much more homogenized under invasive plant species than it was under the native plant community. That lowered diversity of habitat means potentially fewer niches that native species can fill and more difficult niches, as many of these invasive plants carry secondary metabolites of various types, sometimes meant as allelopathic chemicals against other plants, sometimes meant simply as a byproduct of the metabolic process. With global amphibian declines being seen, it's important to consider all aspects of how amphibians may be impacted by human intervention in the world around us, not just through typical traditional competitive measures or community interactions like competition, predation, and so forth, but also through more complex measures like changes in the physical structure of a community, changes in the chemical nature of a community, and also through indirect interactions with other community members, such as plant community changing or influencing the invertebrate community, which then becomes prey for many species of amphibians. Because of these reasons, and because of amphibians' status as indicators of biotic integrity or sentinel species, as well as the general intrinsic value of having diverse species around us, that we're interested in conserving what species we can and understanding why we might see declines in particular at-risk taxa. So take a minute, look around through some of the research that I have posted on the site, and if you have questions, please feel free to comment either in the comment box or through emails, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much. Have a good day.